Welcome everyone to episode 102 of Raw Sport. My name is Ahmed Al Hooli. We're back with another show with a very special guest with the man himself, Mr. Kirra Ruston. Kirra, welcome to the show, buddy. How's things?
Yeah, things are good. Thanks for having me on. A few days out from my fight and ready to go.
Absolutely massive weekend coming. April 26th, you have a massive bout against Dylan Wright. Before we get into your upcoming fight, let's go back in time. Let's take it back. How did your boxing journey start? What was the moment you decided to take boxing seriously?
I'd say I was always kind of growing up playing team sports, and it just got to the point I got pushed a little bit by my stepdad just to try an individual sport, and it ended up being judo. So that was like kind of my first combat type of sport, and I really enjoyed that. But it was lots of grappling, and I only ended up doing it for a year, but wanted to kind of progress things and test some other sports out, and then found boxing, and it wasn't for me like straight away. I think first time I got punched to the face, I pretty much like cried, but after getting through the stress of that, it was just slowly learning the technique and slowing things down and really trying to perfect and get things right. That I found out I'm nowhere near where I could be, and like there's almost no ceiling for improvement in boxing, and I really kind of got drawn to that and wanted to keep just improving and working on my craft, and that's when I kind of fell in love with it and continued to box.
Take me through the early days, all right? You mentioned early on you found it difficult to get into the sport. Then you developed that love for the sport, the obsession for the sport that we all have in the past. What were those early days like? How'd you get through them mentally? What made you persevere?
Yeah, I think I've always been like a competitive person, and someone that I guess from doing lots of mixed sports, I generally picked things up quite quickly. But boxing was one of those things that I actually didn't pick up quick, and I'm a stubborn person too, so I kind of just kept at it and kept chipping away. And I did really enjoy the environment and the people in the boxing gym too. It's quite intimidating when you walk into boxing gyms sometimes, seeing people screaming and punching away on the bag. Now I'm one of those people, but I definitely understand it from starting. And once you do meet those people and you get the right coaching, you find out that most people there are really friendly and happy to help. And that's kind of where I grew and wanted to learn and pick it up a bit more because I was horrible at it. I think a lot of champions were, which made me feel a bit better listening to it. Like it isn't always something you can pick up straight away, but I just really enjoyed the technique of it. It was a lot more technique driven than I thought, rather than just throwing your hands around. And finally stepped into the ring to do some sparring, and I got a big kick out of that. It was intense, but I think it was something I couldn't compare to any other sport I'd done, and that's when it kind of it took over. I think I was around 14 at the time when I started to take boxing a bit more seriously.
Who was that one person that was always in your corner?
Yeah, that would I'd say over the years it's been a lot of people, but um I would say because I've had a couple coaches now, and in the very beginning stages was my stepdad and my mum, because they're obviously the ones that were supporting me and taking me while I could while I was like still in school to train. And my coach actually in Perth was my first coach, a Cuban coach by the name of Ruben Pinheiro, who he actually ended up he was coaching the Cuban boxing team for a while before he moved to Australia, and they're known as gun boxers in the amateur and Olympic realm. So I was getting some good coaching from there, and picked it up a lot faster, I would say, because of him in the beginning.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. The Cubans are very well structured and have an amazing infrastructure when it comes to producing talent on the world stage. Actually, now they're having their first um, pro night, I believe April 26th, I think, from maybe same time as you actually.
Yeah.
So it's definitely things are changing there. So we might start seeing more of them come through the program.
Yeah, that's awesome because I actually ended up going to Cuba for a training camp, and it's like going back in time 50 years. They've got all the old American cars driving around still and horse and carriage, but yeah, some of the best boxers in the world.
Every fighter has setbacks. What's a moment you wanted to quit, and what made you keep going?
I'd say going for my first Olympic qualifiers. I recently just won my first ever national tournament for the Olympic qualifiers and best boxer of the tournament in 2019. This is for the Tokyo Olympic qualifiers and managed to end up fighting in the first round of qualifiers against Hong Kong and stopping Hong Kong in the second round, and then on to the number one seed, who I ended up losing to in a points decision, but took away a lot of experience and actually managed doing quite well considering it was my first international tournament, which got me really excited and confident for qualifying in the later qualifiers. But then COVID hit and everyone and everything got shut down, and it ended up just being taken away that opportunity because I wasn't ranked internationally, and because we couldn't qualify or compete anymore, it went to a rankings on who was selected to go to the Olympics from there. And I guess it was a bit of a low point for a lot of people in the world because you're kind of stuck at home in lockdown and just feeling sorry for yourself, but managed to pull through and continue training just to keep my sanity.
You were recently crowned the Australian light heavyweight champion. Take me through that moment and that feeling.
Yeah, being crowned the light heavyweight Australian champion was an awesome moment for me because it had been done in the amateurs, but it felt completely new in the pros because it is a new game and something that I don't know. I'll look back on as like a really key point, I think, in my career. Just being able to showcase my skills because it was the longest I'd ever been in the ring for, and I feel like it's just the starting point now. But really happy and soaked it in while I made it. But there's still a lot more goals to achieve.
Fast forward to this weekend, well, today actually, you're just a few days out from fighting Dylan Wright in Perth at the RSC Arena. Massive occasion. What was your mindset this camp? You know, what got you through? Where was your focus at?
Yeah, I'd say my mindset, my has been almost the same since my debut in May last year. It's just to stay active, stay in the gym, head down, and continue to fight, which I've been lucky enough to do with promotions like Pathway hosting this event in my homecoming in Perth, and credit to Ace Boxing Promotions to getting me these fights and opportunities because I've been told that I'm a difficult person to match, and thankfully this will be my sixth fight in under 12 months. So grateful for that opportunity and to showcase my skills again. But it's just keeping my head down and active and onto the next.
What's different about Kirra today than what you were a year ago?
The difference is I'd say I'm learning to be a lot smarter with my training, and that's thanks to my team and the people that are surrounding me. Also, because the pros is different, there are longer rounds. It's more of a hurt business, and just smarter in the way I approach things, like my sparring, my training, my fighting, You can't go out there guns blazing straight away. A lot of my fights have ended in the first round, but it's actually not the game plan. If the opportunity's there, I'm going to take it, but it is just to approach everything with not with a hot head, just calm, clean, collected, and patient, and it seems to be working.
How do you view Dylan Wright? Respect his skill, or just another guy just standing in your way?
Yeah, I think I respect anyone that steps in the ring, and grateful again for having another opponent. There was my original opponent pulled out because I think the blood work wasn't right, and I don't want to be catching anything. So I'm glad to the promoters that they were able to find me a new opponent, and Dylan stepped up to it. I can't look past anyone, and I prepare for everyone like a world title fight. So I'm focused more on myself and what I want to do to perform. But yeah, there are a few things that we like to include and to do for each fight depending on the opponent. So yeah.
Do you have a pre-fight ritual that you do before every single fight that not many people know about?
I actually don't. Like, I used to wear the same socks or the same jocks. Like, I'm sure most people do that, I've heard.
Yeah.
But I've tried not to stay too superstitious anymore because I learned that from the amateur team too. There's so many variables, things are always changing, and it's kind of good to be adaptable. Like, you need to be adaptable in the ring too. So, if anything, I'm trying to avoid any sort of superstitions and almost do something different every time. I don't want to change my routine completely, but just to know that if things change suddenly, I'm not gonna stress out because of it.
You've come a long way now. I mean, 6 fights in a year is a lot of work. What would you say is the greatest lesson you've learned so far in your pro journey? What's one thing that's really said, like you've said, wow, wasn't expecting that?
Um, I think it's just following a game plan, really. Like in the amateurs, it's tough because you've only got 3 rounds. If that first round isn't given to you, you need to completely change what you're doing to win the next round. Every round means so much. But I guess in the pros, when you've got a bit more time, it is obviously to execute that game plan. And so far, it's been working quite well. But there's going to be times where you don't. Um, you don't need to change like suddenly. You do have time to kind of work into your fight and to make those small adjustments rather than it being so intense. You can and it's kind of something that suits my style. I feel like a quite a patient and calculated boxer. And I
Hmm.
feel like yeah, the game plans we've come up with each fight has been working really well.
Kira, you're an elite level amateur. Many amateur fighters that have success in the amateur ranks. Uh, they don't always necessarily succeed in the pro ranks. What did you see as the biggest difference in that transition?
For me, I think for myself and for a lot of other people could see that I would hopefully make a good professional because I was kind of a knockout artist. I did stop a lot of opponents, and the pro game is a bit more of a hurt business and doing the damage. I did like to set up my shots too, even though I had 3 rounds. I kind of I like being able to set the shots up and do it smart. Now I've got more time to do that. It's kind of helped my style even more. Um, I would say that's the kind of difference between the amateurs. Amateurs is about like the point scoring and winning the system. Pros a bit more of the hurt business. You can box all day, but if you don't do too much damage and that person doesn't have respect for you, they can kind of chop you down a little bit and yeah, do the damage.
What's the end goal here, Kira? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
In 5 years, would love to be a world champion in my division and maybe another weight division. I feel like the division I'm in right now, I could even go one under, which I'd like to try out in super middle because I make weight very easily, and I think I don't want to look too far ahead, but I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, and I'm trying to go as far as I can with boxing at the moment and see where that takes me. I'll need to reevaluate probably every year to see how I'm tracking, but it's always to the top. It's not just winning that world title, it's maintaining it and getting some big entertaining fights along the way.
And last one from me. Who is a fighter that you've looked up to throughout your career and you try and imitate?
I think my fighters I've been looking up to, I think it's hard to go past Roy Jones Jr. He's a big reason why I started boxing, just because of the highlight reel. Like, I think that was almost what got me into it in the beginning, is just seeing how flashy and entertaining he was, and his crazy highlight reels was something that I think every kid or like that got into boxing would have seen and been like, wow, I want to be like that. Now, I wouldn't say I'm as athletically gifted as Roy Jones Jr., but I think it's a big part of inspiring people to want to be like that and to trial it for themselves, which is what happened for me too. So I'd say, yeah, because of that reason, yeah, Roy Jones Jr. is what got me started. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say I've got his style, but it's what got my foot in the door, and hopefully I can do something similar with the next generation, is inspire to keep this sport going.
Absolutely. I mean, that highlight reel of him and that song that in the background
Yeah,
that he was a part of. That's
yeah,
like everyone growing up sees that somehow.
yeah,
It just keeps going.
yep.
Um, Kirra, you've been very generous with your time. I want to thank you for joining me on Raw Sport. Before we wrap things up, do you have any parting words for us, mate?
Um, April 26th, this Saturday, RAC Arena in Perth. Otherwise, it'll be streamed on Live Combat Sports, I believe. But give me a follow. I'll be posting all the details. And thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kirra Ruston, thank you very much for joining me on Raw Sport.